What's going on, everyone? So the Los Angeles Lakers, they have to know something, right? Like, there's all this talk about the cap preservation, and I did a video on the 2026, 2027. Keith Smith kind of broke it down for us, all that stuff. There's all this talks, particularly about 2027, 2027, 2027. And you look at Giannis, look at Jokic, and those are the two guys. Like, those, like, either guy would be unbelievable, right? And the idea is like, okay, you're going to get one of those guys at that time. Team up with Luca. LeBron's going to ride off into the sunset. Beautiful. Now you're going to have those two guys and the pieces and players around it, all of that. Right? But here's the thing. One, chances are they're probably going to have to be traded. Like, is Denver, if Denver knows that Jokic wants to leave, are they really going to not trade him? They're just going to let him, like, hey, we're just going to lose a generational all-time talent for nothing? Probably not. And he's good enough to where teams might do the Kawhi Leonard thing. Same thing with Giannis. Right? Like, if Milwaukee knows that they're going to lose him for nothing, right? Like, don't you think that they're going to want to get something? Again, he's good enough to where a team might rent him for a season or stuff. Right? So, and then on top of that, you have like DeAndre Ayton, Jake LaRavia, Austin Reeves. You have all these guys where if they're good for you, you're going to pay them. Right? The whole 2026 thing doesn't make any sense because there's no, like, the best player available is LeBron. So, and this is why I keep saying I don't want to see LeBron leave next season. I want him to stay next season and then he can leave. Because at that point, then you can maybe go get a Giannis or whatever. Or you could use LeBron as, like, trade him to, the Cavs and then get the assets to then, plus Austin Reeves, plus whatever to go and make that move, right? Lakers could have, I think it's like 3 firsts next offseason and stuff like that if they don't make any moves or don't trade the first and stuff, and they just kind of go that route. So maybe that's the route. Maybe next offseason, Giannis becomes available or Luca goes, I want to go to the Lakers. And it would take that kind of push. It would take Jokic going like, hey, I want to go to the Lakers and play with Luca. I'm only going to Lakers. If anyone else tries to trade for me or anything like that, just know I'm leaving. And at that point, then the Lakers, yeah, of course, you preserve. Like, if you know Jokic is coming, right? You preserve the cap space. You do whatever. You have a bad year because you know Jokic is coming, and Jokic and Luca is probably going to equal multiple championships, right? So you trade kind of that year. Luca would probably even trade that year knowing his buddy's coming, right? But you'd have to know that. You know who would know that? Luca. Luca said it's a no-brainer. I knew what I was doing. I was signing with the Lakers. Supposedly this, like, the Lakers knew the whole time. Like, this wasn't a shock. This wasn't a mystery. This wasn't anything like that. The only way that the preserving of the cap makes sense is if you know somebody's coming. Right? Because if I don't know somebody's coming, why would I wait for then? Especially when Luca wants to win now. He's made it clear, right? You would be a year out from him potentially just leaving and walking. So if you end up missing on a Giannis or you end up missing on a Jokic, he could just leave you and you're screwed. All because you have these dreams of grandeur to go. It's the Kawhi Leonard situation again. Luckily, the Lakers were able to kind of regroup and build that contender. Right? But my concern is that the Lakers have this kind of false sense of like, hey, we're going to do something unless they know. Because if they know, then it would make sense. Right? If the Lakers are, which again, you know who would know is Luca. Guess what Luca's been doing? He's been recruiting. Guess what all the reports have said? He's going to continue to recruit. Guess what other reports have said? That Luca and Rob Pelinka are going to work together to make a perennial, contending team. Every year they want to be in contention. That's what Luca wants. Right? Luca wants to win every year, wants to be in position to win every year. Right? So, okay, Luca's been, making calls and doing all that stuff. You don't think he's called Jokic? Like, there was questions about him and Denver's relationship, and then after the Mike Malone situation and all that stuff, right? A lot of questions about stuff. You don't think Luca would know? Talking to Jokic, getting in his ear. Come on, dude. Like, this is our chance. You and me could team up. Right? We go win a championship together. How cool would that be? Right? Especially if Luca wins a championship in the next year or two. Like, there is the potential that the Lakers already know, which then if that's the case, then yes, you do preserve the cap space. You figure it out. You kind of, right? Like, it almost never works to have one foot in and one foot out, right? Because you're trying to operate on like two different timelines stuff. It just doesn't work, right? But if I know the best player in all of basketball is coming to team up with the third best player in all of basketball, or even Giannis, doesn't even have to be Jokic. Maybe he's talked to Giannis. And Giannis is like, hey, I'm going to give him this year to figure it out. We're going to see how it goes, and then I'll go. There's a lot of talk about Giannis asking out, right? A lot of conversation, a lot of reports, a lot of that, this, that, and the other, that like, hey, he's probably going to be gone, right? And the Milwaukee Bucks, they didn't do anything that you look at and go like, oh man, that's it. Like they're a contender now, right? But Luca went to the Lakers. Maybe Luca and Giannis have talked, right? Tinfoil cap on. Why would Giannis request a trade right now when the Lakers wouldn't be able to trade for him right now? Why wouldn't the Lakers be able to trade for him right now? Even if Giannis said, I only am going to the Lakers, because he has multiple years on his deal, right? So there's teams that would go and trade for him knowing that I have a 2-year window to win a championship before he leaves, right? So what do? You just stay put, bite your tongue, go into the season, have whatever type of season that you have, and then you lose, and now I can go, hey, I tried to give it one last year, try to give it one last hurrah. It just didn't work out. I tried. I don't want to leave. I want to be. And now you look like the good guy, and now you're going to team up with Luca, and everyone still loves you, and no one thinks you're a bad guy because you gave it a go, even after they got rid of Dame and everything else and didn't build you a contender, and you gave them that one last chance. Now Giannis goes, I only want to go to the Lakers, trade me to the Lakers. And now the Lakers, have 3 firsts and Austin Reeves contract and can, if LeBron wants, because LeBron's not going to want to go to a bad team. So any team that he wants to go to, if he doesn't retire, which I don't think he will because his other son will be in the league. So any team he wants to go to, you're probably going to have to work out some type of sign and trade on. So you work out that, all the assets or whatever you get in that sign and trade, you just send to a team like the Milwaukee Bucks, right? So again, maybe you're doing like Darius Garland, Austin Reeves, Jared Allen, and 2 firsts or 3 firsts, right? And then, or I guess because now they have Miles Turner, so maybe you're taking Jared Allen and turning him into assets, right? Maybe it's a 3-team or 4-team trade, whatever, right? You figure it out, especially if you know Giannis wants to come. And you might get teams that kind of, especially if the Lakers have 3, 4 firsts and all this other stuff, and maybe now teams go, we're not going to be able to outbid. It's not going to make sense for us to outbid the Lakers, for a 1-year rental, right? It doesn't make sense for us to pony it because there's teams that'll throw their hat in the ring, but do it to a point. Like there will be teams if the Lakers had the assets they have right now, teams would be like, all right, we can outbid them, right? Just do it. If it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out, right? And take the roll of the dice because Giannis is good enough to do that. Right? It's the same thing with Jokic. If Jokic wants to go and the Lakers know he wants to go, right? Well, then again, it would make sense to preserve the cap space, right? It makes sense to kind of do the things you need to do. What if, Dallas or Denver just doesn't want to, take on a bunch of long terms? They just want to clear the salary and just get the assets, right? So maybe the Lakers are preserving potentially they could have $84 million in cap space next season. Maybe they do that because they know Jokic is coming and they can just absorb them into the cap space, and then they get a huge exception, and then they're getting a bunch of assets and all this other stuff, and you're sending out a Dude Theoro or whatever else, and that's a win-win for everybody. Maybe it's something like that. Again, right? Maybe they just look at it as hey, we'd rather have the assets. We don't want Austin Reeves long-term and his money and all this other stuff and him making $40 million or whatever. It's very possible. So, but again, there's just so much talk about preserving the cap space, and the Lakers are lining up for this, that, and the other, and it's why? You don't know. What's the best way to get somebody to come? Build a contender. If you have a real contender and LeBron leaves, you don't think somebody's not going to go, whether it's Giannis or Jokic or somebody else, you don't think they're going to go get me to the Lakers, right? Whatever I got to do, get me to the Lakers, right? Because I'd have a chance to win. Having a bunch of cap space is great when there's a star available that makes sense. there isn't that star next offseason. So 2026 doesn't make sense unless you're signing a bunch of role players. But you're signing everyone to 1-year deals? Right? Like, and again, if Ayton works out great and, Jake LaRavia works out great and all this stuff, right? Like, you're going to have to pay those guys. So the cap space situation, it doesn't work. It doesn't make sense unless the Lakers know through Luca, because they would never tamper, right? That would be wrong. That'd be immoral, right? But, if Luca happened to let Rob Pelinka know, like, hey, just to let you know, Jokic is coming in 2 years. Hey, just to let you know, Giannis is coming in 2 years. Then that would make sense for the Lakers to go, okay, cool, good to know. And be patient and wait, ride it out and let whatever develops. So, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. It's just kind of a thought, just based on this cap situation. It just doesn't make sense. Doesn't add up, right? And there's all this, like, now with Luca's contract, here's the cap situation. It's like, okay, yeah, that's great, but Luca wants to win. You're trying to build a contender. But let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.